Greetings, clarophiles and clarophilettes. Today I was perusing through YouTube videos and I got a reminder that someone had made a comment on the lyric clarinet page, and it was from a viewer named Quanzhang Lu. I hope I pronounced your name right, Quan. He said, "Thanks for making high-quality non-wood clarinets. The world needs you." Well, that's very kind. And so I responded to him, "Dear Quan, that's very kind of you. Making a high-quality clarinet with a top-of-the-line acoustical design that most anyone can afford has been the long-term goal of our company. We only wish more people would become aware of it and avoid the rip-offs of companies still selling instruments made of material that is unstable, warps, and will crack. It's sad how many players in 2020 are still stuck back in the primitive world of 19th century musical instrument making." Now you may say, "Gee, Tom, that sounds kind of harsh, you know. I mean, couldn't you be nicer?" Well, not really. I tell you what's harsh is paying a lot more and getting less, and getting something that's less stable, less consistent, won't last as long, and largely doesn't have as good a playing qualities. And you're doing it for what? For material considerations? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. Let me see if I can give an example of what I have in mind. Years ago, I was at a music store working at a music store in Florida, Orlando, and that store was a big Yamaha dealer, and they had a big Yamaha giveaway at Disney World to get the players there at Yamaha to play the Yamaha instruments and promote them with all the crowds that come in. So I was there and I was wandering around talking to some of the Yamaha reps, and one of the Yamaha reps was working with a bass trombone player, and he was being very critical of the Yamaha bass at that time. And he was saying, "Oh, this is wrong, and then this slide here, and then the tuning here, and this and that." So finally, the Yamaha rep, looking kind of in despair, he said, "Well, what should I do with this?" And the trombone player looked at him on the side of his mouth or eye, and he said, "Bennigan's." Now, most of you young people are not going to have any idea what he meant by Bennigan's, but Bennigan's was a large restaurant chain at that time. And one of its characteristics was in the ambiance of the restaurant was they had musical instruments hanging on the wall. So he was saying, this trombone hanging on the wall at Bennigan's. It was bright and shiny and beautiful, but it did not do the things that this player wanted. So, in terms of bright and shiny and beautiful, this is something, a criteria that anyone who can't play a note would use to judge or select an instrument. Parents who know nothing about music with children who know nothing about music come in to buy an instrument, and they would never dream of buying anything that's not bright and shiny and super good looking to the eyes. And the manufacturers concentrate on that too. This is not the case with pros, and if you doubt that, Google Wynton Marsalis's name and look at some of the photos that you find and take a look at his instrument. I guarantee you, no parent with a young child would ever buy something that looks that dingy, that unappealing to the sense of sight. No, Wynton Marsalis picked his instrument because of how it plays. And that's the way you should pick your instrument. And what that means is you need to have enough knowledge, enough information to actually competently judge a clarinet and look beyond the label. And one of the things I've tried to do is dedicate myself in doing these YouTube videos to you, not just to promote our instruments, but to help you judge any instrument by its actual performance qualities, because that's what the crowds will be listening for when they sit and listen to you in a hall. They won't care about the shiny keys. They don't care about the rich, select African blackwood. They don't care about anything like that. They want to hear the music. And when they leave, they're going to remark about how beautiful the phrasing was. Maybe someone will be a little more alert and they'll say, "Boy, that's beautiful. The tuning and stability of the sound was fantastic on the clarinet. But nobody would say, "Dude, did you see that rich African blackwood and that beautiful silver plating?" No, they don't care, because that's not what the clarinet's for. It's not for Bennigans. Though I tell you, a lot of clarinets now that I play and test, Bennigans, that's where they should be, and it's too bad they're a little late for their time, because Bennigans is really, there are not that many Bennigans in business anymore. So you could say, well, Tom, this is just your prejudice. Well, you could say that, but I could give you anecdote after anecdote of customers that have switched to our instruments from wood clarinets, sold their wood clarinets, and actually made money and ended up with a better clarinet that won't crack and break your heart. And so I could give you all those anecdotes, but let me just share one with you. I've mentioned this before, but back in maybe a couple years before the Oklahoma Symposium ended, they had their Young Artist Competition, which means that young players, not just high school players, but I think up to maybe a sophomore in college or something. Anyway, they could. It was a national competition, so that players sent in tapes, and 5 were invited to actually play before the judges at the symposium, and then 1 was selected to win. And the one that was selected to win was a young lady who was a junior here in the Dallas area, and she was playing our 576 clarinet. It's not even really what I'd call our smoothest and most seamless playing instruments, which would be the Libertas. No, she was playing a 576 clarinet, which is a fantastic clarinet with a super scale. And the judges didn't even know it, so they picked her as a winner. And I remember talking to one of the judges afterward. I said, well, you know what she was playing? No. I said, she was playing one of my 576 clarinets, made in natural hard rubber. And you could see his jaw drop to the floor, like, oh, did we do that? Did we pick that? So I think he probably wasn't the only judge that was unaware that she was not playing one of those approved models, one of those approved labels. Nope. And then I think the next year she placed, well, I know she placed in the top 5 at the International Clarinet Symposium at the competition, and was invited there. So she placed among the top 5. I think maybe she ended up being placed 2nd or 3rd or something like that. But again, she's playing against these young players from all over the country, from top music schools, and they're playing instruments that cost 3, 4, and even 5 times more than she paid for her 576 clarinet. So how could that be possible? Well, the reason it's possible, first of all, is because of our business model, because we want to save you money and give you something superior to play that will play as well, if not better, than the best models that you can buy, and will also be logistically more secure, won't crack, won't break on you and break your heart. So we have something here that is acoustically as good an instrument as you can find. And, for me, by the way, many people talk about sound. Well, the 576 and the Libertas clarinet, as well as our Noblissima, they have beautiful sounds, and especially where the sound is critical, and that is the clarion register. When you get into the 2nd register, and especially immediately above the staff and into the transition in the 3rd register, I don't think you'll find clarinets as good or stable or as beautiful as the sounds that those instruments produce there, and that's your solo register. In fact, my acoustical designs really balance the clarinet, so the solo register of the clarinet is the one that really is the most beautiful. Our clarinets win over and over and over when they're tested against the wood clarinets. And for educators, what's really, really important is something I hear educators talk very little about, and that is consistency. The hard rubber clarinets are far more consistent one to another than wood clarinets are. I'm sure any one of you who have been professional players like I was back in the dark ages you know that no one possibly would go to pick a professional wood clarinet without having like as many of them of the same model as they could find, you know, like 10. I remember one guy went to buy buffet clarinets, and he said he picked his buffet out of, I don't know, 29 or 30 R13s. And normally, you know, you pick as many as possible, 12 clarinets, if you get a dozen clarinets to try anything, because as you tested through them, you'd see they're very, very inconsistent. Or they certainly were then. I haven't tested them in a long time. But the thing is wood doesn't change. It can't really be produced even remotely as consistently as natural hard rubber. So consistency for educators is extremely important, because the more uniform you can get your clarinet section in tuning and response and stability in the upper register, in upper registers that are not harsh and edgy like you find on most wood clarinets, the better your clarinet's going to sound, clarinet players are going to sound, and the more comfortably they'll be able to play in tune, not just with the band, but with themselves. And we could charge more for our instruments, but I refuse to do that. I want to make these instruments, high quality instruments, accessible to as many people as will open their minds to being, to accept them, because I want young players to succeed. I don't want them to get an instrument that's difficult and frustrating to play and have them give up, because they lose, and then every one of us in the music industry lose as well. So what we're trying to do is popularize things and make them accessible for as many people as possible. We've certainly done that with our C clarinet. We can't keep our C clarinet in stock. Why? Because it just plays fantastically well. We have 7 or 8 of the top symphony players in America and Canada that are playing our C clarinet. And there are wood clarinets that are C clarinets that are being sold, by the manufacturers, and they're charging 3 times and 4 times more, and even more for their C clarinets. And I'll guarantee you, I've played them all, and they don't even come close to playing as evenly, sounding as beautiful in the upper register, and tuning as well as our C clarinet. It's just really a lot of fun to play. We could charge more for it. We could charge twice as much, and people would be grateful, because they're saying, wow, they're still saving $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 over the high price spread that's made in wood that will crack, and the instrument and not be, and the way you play the C clarinet normally is not any good for wood clarinets, because they sit for a long time and then you pull them out to play them. No, that's not good for wood at all. But for hard rubber, it doesn't make any difference. You could sit it in a case for a year and pull it out and play it and not worry about it cracking or anything like that. So we save people money, and we offer them something that is far from inferior in the actual use of the product. I would challenge players to match any clarinet they have with the response and quality of our B flats and C clarinets. And our bass clarinet, again, we can't keep it in stock because it plays so great. And again, it's thousands of dollars less than what the competition charges. And just think about playing $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 for a wood bass and then have it crack. I don't know. I don't know how to fix this issue, because there's this wall of prejudice that won't look at the evidence, and it's very frustrating for me. It really is, because I'm here with a business trying to save people money and trying to help people and give them something that will bring a lot of joy in their life and will be affordable to almost anyone. And I don't know, I guess it just doesn't feed the ego and the prejudice and the troglodyte-like mindset of the dinosaurs that seem to rule the clarinet world. So, well, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And I hope you have what's left of the weekend. Have a nice weekend. So, hasta la vista, baby.